The SEC or Big Ten? Caleb argues that they are killing college football. Caleb, why do you argue that? It is 4 downs, and it's brought to you by Ted Russell Ford and Ted Russell Lincoln. You can go to tedrussellford.net, tedrusselllincoln.net, or go to the Kingston Pike location or the Parkside Drive location. 4 downs brought to you by Ted Russell Ford and Ted Russell.
Come on, guys, it's game time.
4 downs. Can you count? 4 downs. 1, 2, 3, 4. The Dave Hooker Show with Caleb Calhoun. Represented by T. Scott Jones. BanksandJones.com. Tennessee's trial attorney. From the Ted Russell Ford Lincoln Studio, East Tennessee's #1 volume and customer service dealer. Ted Russell Ford and TedRussellLincoln.net. Now to the Dave Hooker Show on Off the Hook Sports.
By the way, let's just say Elizabeth Shue had something going on. Okay, let's go ahead and dive into this. You think the SEC and Big Ten are killing college football? Why, Caleb, before we get into some of the possibilities as to how?
Well, by their expansion, they have already destroyed a conference. They are destroying rivalries. They are ending the value of conference races. They've already destroyed the importance of the regular season and the magnitude of it from game to game and week to week. And they are destroying conference championship games, all for a couple of extra weeks of football in December that nobody watches because it's around Christmas. So, yeah, that's what I think. And I've been very big on this. And
now you have. Now, my argument is this: you're going to end up with a super conference, and it's going to be better in the long run. But I will give you this: in the interim, yeah, they're kind of stomping all over the traditions. They're stomping all over what made college football great. And if you're not careful, you're going to do the NASCAR thing with the car tomorrow in the playoffs. You're going to screw it all up. So they've got to get this super conference thing in line within, I think, the next 3 to 5 years, where they've done irreparable damage. Now, if they do that and they get the super conference in there, do you feel better about where college football would be before we get into some of the things that the two conferences have done to sidetrack this?
If the super conferences were formed and then the super conference was formed and then they created within the super conference divisions, i.e. like the original SEC or the original Big Ten and the original Pac-12, and they had and it was the centralized governing body like the NCAA should have done, then yes, I would be okay with it. I don't foresee that happening.
Okay. Let's go for it. First down now. It's brought to you by tedrussellford.net, tedrusselllincoln.net.
That's hot.
Cooper Mays here. Hit like and subscribe.
And guys,
here, first down.
First down. Go.
Let me pose the question, and I'm going to put this on the message board now. And the question is, and I got 4 downs. Who is more? And I'm going to lay out all the examples. Who is more?
How does a poll question?
Huh?
How does a poll question?
I'm laying out a poll question. Who's more responsible for killing college football?
No, I got something better. Go ahead with first down.
Okay, so first down, the question to all of you guys first is who's more responsible for killing college football tradition, SEC or Big Ten? First down is where the SEC is at fault. They were the first to expand to 16 teams of the two conferences. They broke the Big 12 by adding Texas and Oklahoma.
Okay. I got a fit down for you. It's going to blow your mind. But anyway.
Okay.
Yes, I will give you that expansion has led to this. Now, do you think it was the first round of expansion with Arkansas and South Carolina, or the second and third round?
I think it was the first round with Arkansas and South Carolina, all the way back in 1992. Because remember, doing that destroyed the Southwest Conference. The SEC nuked the Southwest Conference pretty much by doing that, which is one of the oldest conferences in football. And I don't think the Southwest Conference was the best conference to exist. I mean, I didn't think it made sense that Texas A&M, and Arkansas should be in the same division with like SMU, Houston, and what were the other schools in there? I mean, all these random Texas schools that you never hear of. Yeah. But yeah, I think the SEC began the process of expansion way back in 92, and that's why we're in this situation we are in right now.
All right, let's get to second down. General Ursa says, I got nothing but Elizabeth Shue on my mind. I don't blame you. What's our poll question now, Caleb? It's a special one that I had to veto yours.
Would you rather bite Michelle Pfeiffer or Elizabeth Shue? Can we not talk about like abusing women, guys?
That's not. In some cases, that's not abusing. Some may like that.
But you don't know. They haven't consented to this.
Well, I'm not hunting them down, trying to bite them right now.
Cooper Mays here. Second down.
Well, it's funny that Michelle Pfeiffer came up because my two biggest celebrity crushes when I was a kid was probably Shue and Pfeiffer. Pfeiffer in particular in Grease 2. I need a cool rider, a COOLRIDER. I need a cool rider. You seen Grease 2?
No, I didn't even like Grease 1 that much.
Oh, all right. It's the only musical that's doable. The Big Ten killed the Pac-12 with their expansion. Yeah, I think if you had to pick one of the moves that you've got listed, this is the biggest one. I mean, they went out and they made it a national thing, and they completely changed the face of the sport. I'm not so sure that we wouldn't be in the same place we weren't 5 years ago. We were 5 years ago, if not for that major.
This was a huge one. But I fully blame the Big Ten for this. This was a big, no pun intended, blow to college football because to counter the SEC's influence, they decided to go add USC and UCLA. And you look back on that and you're like, that ended conferences as a regional thing at all. At least all the SEC schools were congruent. The Big Ten was like, yeah, we got all these Midwestern schools and we got these 2 California schools that's going to nuke one of the oldest conferences. Whatever you think about like West Coast football, let's be honest, Steve, you enjoyed back in the day staying up late at night watching one of those like West Coast games that had basketball scores, didn't you? That was always fun.
I agree. I like that. I thought that the SEC, you don't have this listed on one of yours, but when it really started to spread out the TV market and have a premier game in the night window, I thought that hurt some of those games. And then I would stay up for the Pac-12 game.
Yeah, but see, at least you always had a Pac-12 game that started at 11 and went till 2 in the morning. And you know, if you're out partying and it's like on TV, you're at a bar, you just stop. You're like, man, this game's like 64 to 55. I got to see who wins.
Yeah, I mean, I saw them all start sober because my friends would party during the game and I was working. And it was either I learned really quick, you can't play catch up. What are you going to do? Have like 5 shots of tequila to try to catch up to your buddies, and then you blow right past them. So I would just hang out with them, start sober, maybe sip a beer. All right, what down are we at now there, Cooper Mazer?
Tennessee center Cooper Mays here. Third down.
All right. Reasons why the SEC and Big Ten are possibly killing college football. The SEC fought for the BCS and for expanded playoff to be 12 teams instead of 8. You're still missing the big one.
All right. This is a big one to me, though, because the SEC, by fighting for the BCS, when Roy Kramer did that in 1998, he wrecked like traditional bowl tie-in traditions. And then when there was talk of the college football playoff, the SEC, everybody agreed on 4. And then they were trying to go to 8, but the SEC either wanted to stay at 4 or go to 12. And the 8 was the move. The 8 with the 5 Power 5 conference champions, 1 group of 5 and 2 at-large bids was the move that would have preserved the regular season. And they just screwed it.
Okay. 4th down from Caleb coming up. And I'm going to give you the biggest factor in why college football has changed so dramatically. And it took a long time, but it did happen. 4 downs is right now. It's brought to you by Ted Russell Ford and Ted Russell Lincoln. Go to tedrussellford.net, tedrusselllincoln.net.
A beacon of hope in a world of high prices. Look to the skies, Knoxville. Super savings is here. Ted Russell Ford is East Tennessee's #1 volume Ford dealer. Employee pricing is here. You pay what we pay on all new Ford models. Come see the super dealer today at either Ted Russell Ford location, Parkside Drive, or Kingston Pike.
Mays here. 4th down.
All right, 4th down. What is it?
4th down is what the Big Ten is trying to do now. Automatic qualifiers in the college football playoff. Totally stupid. Total disaster. I hate that we're at this point with a 12 to 14 to 16 team playoff in mega conferences, but automatic qualifiers just makes that worse. And I get Josh Pate's argument because if you listen to him, he says automatic qualifiers is one way to kind of preserve like conference races now in college football. But what the heck is a conference race when you're fighting for the 4th best spot in the conference to get into the playoff?
You know the biggest factor was in getting to a playoff?
What?
Roy Kramer. And he would be absolutely disgusted to hear me say that. but he was the one who originally came up with the BCS to seed a 1 and 2. But it also seeded beyond that to create discussion. It also created discussion among, let's say, the number 1 and number 4 team who might be in another conference, but they both won their conference. So really, it started when Roy Kramer decided to institute the BCS. And once that happened, you had a matchup of Florida State and Tennessee in the first BCS national championship game. Most people, even though I'd watched a lot of football and I was sure Tennessee was going to win pretty handily, and they did. They won comfortably. I didn't think Florida State was close to Tennessee, but most of the people in the nation thought Florida State was significantly better. As a matter of fact, Keith Jackson said it during the break one time. He said, I don't care how well Tennessee plays, Florida State's going to win because they're that much better. That's what created the discourse and the conversation that eventually led to a playoff. Now, it took 25 years, but I still believe it was that move. And Roy Kramer was so anti-playoff, you can't even put it into words. He was a big bowl guy. But in the end, what he did during his tenure is what led to all of this.
What was also laughable, though, was to try to create the 1 versus 2 was 1 versus 2 does not always mean the 2 best teams in any ranking. There's no formula. So after the year after Tennessee and Florida State, and they had the resume, so they deserved to go, but you had Florida State play Virginia Tech for the title. Virginia Tech was like, and talent-wise, was not a top 5 team that year. They got there because of Michael Vick. And I think we all agree, Tennessee, Nebraska, like the 99 Tennessee team, that 99 Nebraska team, both of those teams would have given Florida State a much better fight than Virginia Tech did. And then the next year, you had Florida State play Oklahoma, but in 2001, you had Nebraska get in to play Miami. Once again, giant gap in talent. Nebraska didn't belong on the same field. So you were that's the other part of why this led to the playoff, is you wanted to create this 1 versus 2 scenario, but number 2 is not always in the same class as number 1.
Fair.